your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
أن تستمعوا إلى عقلك على الهواء. سيبدأ البرنامج قريبا. استمتع.
Woo! Good morning, everyone. Good morning and afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Volt Larson. And everything happens for a reason, except for when it doesn't. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy to be with you. Happy Friday! Happy Friday! Is everybody else enjoying the Friday energy? I am loving it. We took a hit. It's I'm feeling loose. You know who else is feeling loose? Graham Platner, 41-year-old Marine Corps and Army National Guard veteran who's currently running for the Democratic Senate seat. He is revealed recently to have a bit of a history with tattoos, claiming he is unaware of their symbolism, and Bernie Sanders is sticking by his shoddy endorsement. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to hop right into the news today because I quite frankly, this one caught me by surprise when I woke up to it and I said, wait a minute, Graham Platner, I've never heard of this person, I never think of the state of Maine, Stephen King is the only thing that I'm sure any of us associate with it, and that weird accent that they all have, the one from Pet Sematary, dead is better. You know how they all just kind of, they all sound like something in their jaw. I don't know. It's like a weird quality that's like a southern draw, but it's not quite. I don't know. It's cool. It's like a northerner draw. Anyways. Graham Platner. Folks, he is running as a Democrat, which is surprising once you hear, well, actually, given the anti-Semitic turn in the Democratic Party, not as surprising as you'd like to think. He was actually quite ahead of the curve. He got this tattoo that allegedly has Nazi symbolism behind it 20 years ago. He saw the turn for the pro-Palestine people. He saw the turn coming for the party years ahead. He was playing the long game, and I think people are just mad about it because they're like, damn, I wish that I had the foresight. Let's get into this CNN story. I want to hop right into it, guys. I'm feeling good. Let's do it.
U.S. Senate candidate Graham Platner's tattoo that he says he got nearly 20 years ago is causing controversy. The Anti-Defamation League says the tattoo appears to be a Nazi Totenkopf.
By the way, this is the Anti-Defamation League. I generally tend to trust them because if anything, they're the people who are going to be looking out for this sort of thing. And you know what I mean? I think that if anything, this man is he's a really, really big meathead. I'm willing to say this. I'm one of those people where I go, hey, the ADL said that this looks like Elon didn't mean to do this sort of a gesture. It looked awkward. He has autism. And I'm like, listen, I know autistic people's brains. Sure, why not? Yeah, he could have fucked up. Does that excuse the German, what's it called? Right-wing party that he attended later? I don't know that is it's just like these things are weird. But the ADL is coming out and they're saying, yeah, this isn't an Elon situation where he's a little touched in the brain and he might have accidentally swung his arm a little too far. This is it appears that this gentleman has a Nazi tattoo. Not a Pete Hegseth, Christian nationalist tattoo like he has, but this appears to be a Totenkopf, which is a skull emblem used by the Nazi Party. Let's continue.
The skull emblem used by Hitler's SS. Platner told the AP that as of Wednesday, the tattoo has been covered with another tattoo.
Good.
I've gone and gotten it covered up.
Awesome.
In his Tuesday interview with Pod Save America, Platner says he got the tattoo while...
By the way, Pod Save America, it's hit or miss for me. Honestly, they are pretty far left-wing. I wouldn't say that they're the furthest left-wing organization, but if you want a solid enough place for podcast interviews, they're not a bad one to turn to. I'm not going to lie. Continue.
With the Marines in Croatia after a night of drinking. He said he just picked, quote, a terrifying-looking skull and crossbones off the wall at the tattoo parlor.
At no point in this entire experience of my life did anybody ever once say, hey, you're a Nazi. And I can honestly say that if I was trying to hide it, I've not been doing a very good job for the past 18 years.
In a statement to the Associated Press, Platner said, quote, it was not until I started hearing from reporters and DC insiders that I realized this tattoo resembled a Nazi symbol.
Jesus Christ.
I absolutely would not have gone through life having this on my chest if I knew that, and to insinuate that I did is disgusting. I'm already planning to get it removed.
Well, hey, you didn't get it removed. You got it covered up, which, okay. All right, I want to address this story. I know people who've gotten tattoos. I know tattoo people in my life. I'm not personally one of them. My body is not. It's not that it's too pure. It's that I just don't think that I could handle the pain. But I've seen people who get tattoos. Anyone who is anybody who gets tattoos, unless they're Pete Davidson, does not just get a tattoo. They just like, oh, I'm just going to pick a scary skull. You mean to tell me that the Czech who tattooed you during this night didn't bother to tell you, hey, we're pretty close to Ukraine over here, the Eastern Europe. We have a history with the neo-Nazi movement, and I don't know that you would want to get that exact skull tattooed. Maybe I can point you in the direction of this other design. You know what I mean? For it to be a perfect replica of the old European Nazi tattoo, I don't know, man. They couldn't have at least given you a warning. I'm a little inclined to say that, come on. Elon did not stick out his arm for 20 years. This is not how he's been signing off, like, what's it called? It's not as though he's been going, thank you, and then throwing his arm out in that way for 20 fucking years. This guy's been walking around with this tattoo for 20 years. And listen, he's a former Marine, former all of this stuff. He wants to Jesse Ventura this shit. He wants to be like, listen, I did time for this country, and that means you gotta vote for me. It's like, okay, that only works if you have aura. The only reason that it worked for Jesse Ventura is because he had aura. He was a WWE star. The majority of the people in this country do not give a shit if you serve this country. I'm sorry. The majority of them actually, weirdly enough, the energy in this country ever since the post-Vietnam era, we kind of hate the veterans a little bit. Weirdly enough, have you noticed that the energy is like, yeah, I don't really care that you served this country. I don't really care that you went and did all this sort of stuff. Like, you guys like promote capitalist regimes across the world and you're like the worst. It's like this attitude of like, we hate our own civilians because we disagree with the not civilians, we hate our own fucking public servants because we're not a fan of the way that they are being delegated across the sea. Anyways,
the Democratic candidate for Maine says he's passed military background checks since then with no one flagging it. He's also apologized for online comments made around 2021 too, like calling himself a communist and castigating police and rural white Americans, among other things, and says those don't reflect who he is now. Despite the backlash, independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, one of Platner's more prominent supporters, is still backing him, calling him, quote, an excellent candidate.
So you're standing by your endorsement?
Absolutely.
Okay. He's like, absolutely, we have to fight oligarchy. We cannot, I will accept the neo-Nazis. This is why we're funding Ukraine. Actually, this is the whole reason we've been funding Ukraine, is because I'd rather agree with the people carrying shields who hate the Jewish people than agree with Vladimir Putin. That's his whole atmosphere, Bernie Sanders. Anyways, he is a public figure in the 2026 U.S. Senate race, challenging an incumbent Republican Senator Susan Collins with a progressive platform emphasizing universal health care, never going to happen, wealth inequality reform, and restricted arms sales to Israel. Wait a minute. Now he's got me. Once he starts talking about, what's it called? Listen, when people start going off about universal healthcare, I immediately tune out because they're not legitimately thinking about. I like the way Obama looked at it, where he goes, look, if we were starting from scratch, we would do a single payer system, but we're not starting from scratch. We're starting with a system where people already have a certain level of whatever. It's crazy how we got this system. It was during the Depression. We had to give employers something. We gave them insurance. It's a complex web of shit. Anyways, I like the way that, what's his name, viewed it. Obama. Wealth inequality reform. Come on, guys. There's always going to be rich people. There's always going to be poor people. If we can just have less poor people in general, that'd be great. That'd be pretty cool. And restrict arms sales to Israel. I totally agree with that. We don't need to be funding that anymore. Born September 1st, 1984. So this is a prime Gen Xer. This is like a, what's it called? Not a Gen Xer. I'm trying to think of what the term is, because Gen X would be 65 to 80. This is a prime millennial. This is a middle of the roader, actually. This is like a guy who's like, I got a touch of this, I got a touch of that. I was 10 years old in 1994. I remember the 90s pretty clearly. It was my ideal era. He's got I don't know. I've noticed this spirit, and I don't know if it's Gen X specifically that, because I haven't noticed this in Gen Z that are like former military and whatnot. Maybe they just haven't come out enough. But quite frankly, the energy around when people get out of the military and they're Gen X, it's a real like they've been woken up to the military industrial complex. There's a real energy of like, I want to tear down systems because I don't like my boomer parents, which is, I guess I can understand that. You know what I mean? A restaurant owner and former Democratic National Committee delegate, and Bronson, and wait a minute. He was, I'm reading his parents' details, excuse me. God, what am I doing? He was born September 1st, 1984 to Leslie Harlow, a restaurant owner and former Democratic National Committee delegate, and Bronson Platner, a lawyer, who grew up in a working-class family near the Acadia National Park, often highlighting his blue-collar roots in his campaign rhetoric. After enlisting in the Marines shortly after high school in 2003, my birth year, famously sneaking his birth certificate to do so, Platner deployed to Al-Anbar province in Iraq in 2005. This guy's been around with Kylo Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines, and served east of Fallujah and returned to Ramadi in 2006 as a machine gun section leader. He's got a lot of shit in the background of here. Struggling with undiagnosed PTSD and physical injuries upon his return stateside, Platner utilized his GI Bill to attend George Washington University while bartending at the Tune Inn on Capitol Hill. A period marked by personal disillusionment. He later worked as a security contractor for the United States Department of State in Afghanistan before pivoting to Marines aquaculture scene in 2018, taking over the Frenchman Bay Oyster Company after a brief center and a 20,000 Stavros Nikaros Foundation grant in 2021. He expanded his operations, supplying local eateries, including his mother's eatery, while chairing the Sullivan Planning Board, launching his first-time Senate bid in August 2025. Platner quickly gained endorsements from Senator Bernie Sanders and the United Auto Workers, surging in the polls as an anti-establishment voice against Governor Janet Mills and other primary rivals. However, his rhetoric his meteoric rise leading the Democratic primary polls 58% to 24% over in Mills University of New Hampshire survey, October 16th to 21st, has been overshadowed by the cascade of scandals around this guy, beginning with the resurfaced Reddit posts from 2013 and 2021 that reveal raw, unfiltered anger rooted in his post-combat trauma. If you guys don't already know, this guy went on this place and Reddit. When Politico and CNN unearthed these deleted comments, verified through archives and biographical cross-checking, they exposed his inflammatory rhetoric during vulnerable periods of readjustment after Iraq and Afghanistan. In a 2013 post while bartending, he queried, "Why don't black people tip?" in a racial discussion thread. Victim blamed sexual assault victims by suggesting inebriation invites risk, downplayed military reporting challenges for victims, and repeatedly used slurs like retarded while advocating violence for social change. So he's a radical leftist. He's a Chris Valenti type. He is a, ends justify the means leftist, meaning he is, or at least back then, his opinion was not one to be taken seriously because he was clearly in a place of personal dissatisfaction. You notice that about most people who are radical leftists or radical right. It's that they don't have great personal lives. They have tickets. They're going to court. They don't have jobs that are really that successful or interesting. And you know what I mean? It's just... It's a lack of personal interest in your life, so you fill it by being an absolute. You have the most blasé, boring life possible, so you fill it in by believing in the most insane, intense shit possible, because that's what makes you interesting. Versus actually being a decent member of your community, being a radical who's like, I want everybody to share everything. Blah, blah, blah. That's how they prove themselves in nowadays' culture. Amid ongoing veteran struggles, he identified as a communist and branded all police as bastards, labeled rural white Americans as racist and stupid, criticized black tipping habits, and and denigrated gay men with anti-gay slurs, prompting fresh scrutiny from outlets like the Advocate. These revelations led to an immediate resignation of his political director and former state representative Genevieve McDonald on October 18th, who deemed them disqualifying in a Facebook post. Bipartisan backlash around this kind of shit. Rivals like Jordan Wood demanded that he exit the race and look for moral clarity against Trumpism, while Republicans, including the National Republican Senatorial Committee, launched fundraising ads tying the comments to allies like Representative Jordan Golden. Platner responded with a 5-minute apology video attributing the crude and harmful language to his PTSD-fueled anger, which is never a good excuse. I'm sorry. I don't like mental health excuses ever. They're not my favorite. I don't care if you're feeling bad. It doesn't give you the excuse to be a dick. Emphasizing personal growth and LGBTQ plus advocacy and quipping on Pod Save America about morphing from communist to Nazi in days. It's not as though, listen, you're trying to make it a, like, oh, I'm a whatever this, I'm a whatever that. I truly do believe that you didn't understand the meaning of that skull. Okay, buddy, I will take your word for it that you were a little confused and you didn't know that it was a Nazi symbol. I don't want you in government then. I'm sorry, if you are in another country, you got to know what you're tattooing on your body. I've known tattoo people, they don't just get things without knowing what they mean. That's what dumb people do. That's a sign not only of, like, it's not a sign that you're a Nazi or that you're hiding, like, a communist agenda. It's that you're literally, like, you're dumb. And, like, I don't want somebody of such low IQ. By the way, he in his ads, he's like, I'm a Marine. I'm a fucking bootlicker. I served my country, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, so that makes you really good at taking orders. That's all that I know about you, is that you're really good at following directions and taking orders. And when it comes to your grit, when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your actual intelligence, the stuff that matters for a politician, I don't know anything about you. Anyways, in order to put a clamp on this, I want to go ahead and I want to review his Senate video.
What I love most about Man of the People, I have never met people who are more hardscrabble, even in a place that requires you to work like 2 or 3 different jobs. We have watched this state become essentially unlivable for working class people.
Unlivable.
And, it makes me deeply angry.
Look at him. He's brooding right there. Have you guys ever seen Chris Benoit? He was a wrestler who had CTE and then he went ludicrous on his family. It sounded like, I don't know what happened, but he had bitches tied up. He laid Bibles next to their bodies because he thought that he was saving them, and then he hung himself or whatever on his workout equipment. Anyways. And then, a bunch of, Vince McMahon and all those people sat around and talked about, he was nice and whatever. And then, by the way, the WWE, funnily enough, the night they found out that he died, put on a celebration of life for this guy. Without realizing that he had gone ahead and murdered his whole family. They went and had everybody say nice things about him. So, this is the energy I get from Graham Platner. This person who's just I'm angry at the world, and this is most veterans that you'll see that don't deal with it in a meaningful, good way. They sit and they stew most of the time up in their little log cabin, which most of them go and they live completely alone. You'll notice this. They live completely alone. They isolate themselves. And it's because the military broke them. It's because what the military does, and what I think, not necessarily as much nowadays, because you know what I mean, people have to... the morals around breaking people down and rebuilding them into the image that we need you to be, it's changed, it's morphed in a way, but it's not as barbaric as it used to be, even during the times of Iraq, in the times of the early 2000s. They were still branding people after boot camp and things. The energy... This guy is just, he bleeds and exudes an atmosphere of I hate. That's all you don't get the vision that he has love for the people of Maine. You don't get the vision that he has a true, kernel of light in his heart. It's all, I hate billionaires. I hate the people who want to fuck people over. I hate. And that's what drives these people a lot of the times. The extremely radical, it's either, you know what I mean? It's the Christian types that want to, merge church and state. And it's also the radical leftists. It's either side. It's just hatred.
My name is Graham Platner, and I'm running for U.S. Senate in Maine to defeat Susan Collins. A
Susan
decade
Collins.
of military service going overseas. Farming oysters to feed my community. Diving to lend a hand to other fishermen.
I love that he goes, I've been fishing oysters to feed my community. Have you been giving them away? Have you been giving them away? No. You sell them in your mom's nice little shop where they cost like $28 for a platter. Shut up. You're not feeding the community, you fucking jip.
Trying to start a family. But everywhere I've gone, it seems like the fabric of what holds us together is being ripped apart by billionaires and corrupt politicians.
Billionaires! This is what you hear every time nowadays from Democrats. It's never, let's blame the politicians that we elect. Let's blame the people that, make the grand choices. It's billionaires and the elite. It's all the people with money. It's all the people with money. And you know why they're doing this message now? The reason that they're appealing to the poor people? It's because most of the Democratic fan base is the poor people. It's the people who can't afford shit. And that's like people like me, where I can't afford shit. I can't afford rent, can't afford all that bullshit. People who have very little are being appealed to by this campaign right now, where it's like, hey, the reason your life sucks isn't because, you don't work hard enough for your money. It's not because you don't. And it's because, by the way, this society has privileged people to the point where they think that if they have a job that makes them sweat a little bit, it's blue collar all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Like, go back to the days where we didn't have this grand economy for you to go get a job in, and then you would be dead by the winter because you'd have to grow your own wheat. You know what I mean? People do not understand that this grand vision of socialism, this whole the billionaires, the ones that are greedy and stealing and you are angry that someone else has done something with their life that you have not been able to. And that's regrettable. It's unfortunate. That's just how life works. But tearing down the people who've built something of themselves will never, ever make you amount to anything. Let's continue.
Profiting off of destroying our environment, driving our families into poverty, and crushing the middle class.
You know what's driving the families into poverty? That fucking $68 platter of oysters that you should be handing out for free. Listen, you should, if you claim to be this grand whatever, okay.
I did 4 infantry tours in the Marine Corps and the Army. I'm not afraid to name an enemy. And the enemy is the oligarchy.
The oligarchy! Yes, the oligarchy. That Bernie Sanders definitely doesn't belong to, even though he owns like 3 houses. Oh, yes, it's the oligarchy. It's the rich folk. It's the monopoly men. Oh, yes, of course. We've discovered it now. Now the Democrats will win elections, won't they? Now they will. Right, guys? Right, guys? Because that worked last time when we were doing the fight the oligarchy bullshit, when we were doing the fight, the democracy's on the line. Is this, guys, every time we turn up the temp?
It's the billionaires who pay for it.
Is it making it better?
Sell us out. And yeah, that means politicians like Susan Collins. I'm not fooled
How about you?
by this fake charade of Collins' deliberations and moderation. The difference between Susan Collins and Ted Cruz is at least Ted Cruz is honest about selling us out and not giving a damn. People know that the system is screwing them. They know it in their bones. Nobody I know around here can afford a house. Healthcare is a disaster. Hospitals are closing. We have watched all of that get ripped away from us, and everyone's just trying to keep it all together. Why can't we have universal healthcare like every other first world country?
Not every other first world country. What are you talking about? That's not factually true.
Why can't we take care of our veterans when they come home? Why are we funding endless wars and bombing children?
Totally agreed with that one, actually. This guy actually does have some decent points.
Why are CEOs more powerful than unions?
That's a good point also. Listen, this guy is not all... He is just... He's got a chip on his shoulder, and I think it's the war. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't blame him, because war is hell, and I haven't gone through it. I don't know what that's like, you know what I mean? He's just, Maine, if you want to bet on this guy, he's an interesting one. I'm gonna let him finish up so I can take this bong hit.
We fought 3 different wars since the last time we raised the minimum wage. I'm not pretending to have all the answers, but I know that I'm asking the right questions. When I tell people around here that I'm running for Senate, sometimes the initial reaction is, what the but when I tell them why I'm doing it, because I truly do believe that we can build a system that is going to represent working people. The #1 response has been, well, thank God somebody's going to do it. You're supposed to fight for the things you love. This is our home, and I will fight tirelessly for it, for you. It's Mainers first, in Maine, always.
All right, folks. Mainers first. Maine, if you want to bet on him, do it. I think that you should do it. I think that you should get behind him. I think he's the candidate to get behind. I'm not even lying to you. Folks, enough about Graham Platner. He's taken up the first section of this. I've had enough. Let's get into the latest about the Trump and Canada ties. As of October 24th, 2025, the United States-Canada trade relationship has reached a new low following President Trump's abrupt announcement late on October 23rd, terminating all ongoing trade negotiations with Canada. This dramatic escalation stems from a politically charged advertisement funded by the Canadian province of Ontario, which featured audio clips from the 1987 radio address by former President Ronald Reagan criticizing tariffs and protectionism. Trump labeled the ad as fake and fraudulent, accusing Canada of attempting to influence the United States Supreme Court ahead of its November hearing on the legality of his sweeping global tariff regime. The move halts weeks of detailed and constructive talks following focused on resolving disputes over tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminum, autos, and energy sectors. Amid broader tensions, the United States duties on Canada goods are to rise 35% earlier. Were to rise 35% earlier this year. Levels not seen since the 1930s. These tariffs were initially justified by the Trump administration in response to trade deficits and alleged fentanyl flows from Canada. Also, U.S. Customs data shows negligible volumes from the northern border, under 0.1% of seizures since 2022. Canada, America's second largest trading partner with $909.1 billion in bilateral goods and services traded in 2024, had retaliated with its own duties, but largely lifted them under Prime Minister Mark Carney to facilitate negotiations. Carney, who assumed office in March 2025, has visited the Trump at the White House twice this year, most recently on October 7th, not a great date, emphasizing mutual benefits but warning that the traditional relationship with the United States is over and Canada pivots to double non-U.S. exports over the next decade. The termination introduces fresh uncertainty ahead of the 2026 review of the USMCA, the Trump-era successor to NAFTA, with both leaders potentially crossing paths at the ASEAN summit in Malaysia this weekend. Though no bilateral meeting is confirmed. Economically, the decision risks prolonged pain for Canadian exporters, over 77% of whose goods go to the South, particularly Ontario's steel industry, which employs thousands and has already seen plant shutdowns at firms like General Motors and Stellantis. On the U.S. side, it could complicate supply chains for the American manufacturers relying on Canadian imports, potentially fueling inflation for legal refunds if the Supreme Court strikes down the tariffs. Market reactions appear muted so far. Canada's TSX rose modestly in the morning, with morning trading, with analysts interpreting Trump's outburst as a late-night tantrum likely to fizzle, similar to his June 2025 threat over Canada's digital service tax. So, we looked at the ad. I overviewed it. It was not a dramatic misrepresentation of his words. He was Ronald Reagan, if you didn't know. He's a free trade, he's a free market guy. He always was. But in the sense where he believed that tariffs were good for the American population, he even himself said that the benefits can be limited and temporary, but it is with greater negotiations and grander vision that you have to use these tools. They are not just tools that are going to solve the problem if you just throw them out there. So Canada rightly used that clip. They, I would say I don't have an issue with it. I think that this is an overreaction, you guys. There's no other way to put it. This is on X. We saw Ford posted, "Canada and the United States are friends, neighbors, and allies. President Ronald Reagan knew that. They were stronger together. God bless Canada. God bless the United States." Best of luck to Ford. They're not going to get any help from us anytime soon. Here, let's go ahead, and I want to just play this clip for you so that you can get full context. Why not?
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
So, there we go, guys. On the U.S. side, Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed the suspension in a brief statement, while the White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett attributed it to frustration built up over time and Canada's lack of flexibility. Trump allies, including the National Republican Senatorial Committee, have amplified the narrative, fundraising off claims of Canadian interference. Broader analysis from experts like Ian Lesser and of the German Marshall Fund highlights an unprecedented chill in the market. United States policy shifts have sourced Canadian public opinion toward America and Trump to historic lows, turning bilateral discourse into domestic politics and risking slip over into security and cultural ties. Internationally, Chinese state media shared Ronald Reagan's speech in a subtle jab at Trump's tariffs, while the termination coming days before Trump's Asia trip could inadvertently boost Beijing's leverage in global trade talks. As the dust settles, the episode just underscores Trump's impulsive style with Canada's pragmatic pivot. There's no clear timeline for them resuming these negotiations. I don't see us doing it anytime soon, quite frankly. I don't see us turning to them and going, "Hey, we're gonna give you a helping hand." Quite frankly, to any Canadians who may be listening, my grandest apologies. This is not ideal. It's kind of his style. It's the one that we elected him for, regrettably. I would like to say that I didn't vote for him. I didn't like the other choice very much either, but to be fair, I think that she would have been nicer to you guys. Sincerest apologies. I hope that your prices don't go any higher, and I hope you don't starve, because right now, with what I'm seeing, that's looking like what it might turn into. But for my American listeners, let's hope that things stay. Let's hope that things stay pretty neutral on our side, and that we don't end up starving yet. I'm sorry to say it, this is the way that you got to talk about these things. It's like, yeah, it sucks that people are going to be starving. Let's just hope that it doesn't hit our country soon enough. You know what I mean? That's awful. Blessed be Canada, and I hope that things go well for you guys. I hope that your your universal healthcare system is really good at dealing with the starving people. Anyways, let's get into the rapid fire section of today's headlines. It's already a half hour in, folks. I don't want to waste any more of your time, and like I said, there's too damn much to talk about today, so there's no way I'm going to get through it if I just keep lollygagging. We don't have time for an advertisement. I didn't even write one for today. Anyways, deadly bus fire in India's Andhra Pradesh kills over 19 passengers near Kurnool. Not ideal and not fun, but it's the big news out of the east. Israel forces accused of violating Gaza's ceasefire once again, killing at least 24 Palestinians in fresh attacks. Come on, guys. Come on. I thought that we had something on lock here. I thought that we were on our way. You gotta knock it off, you please. Social Security Administration delays COLA announcement to October 24th due to government shutdown. COLA, like Coca, Pakistan withdraws from Junior Hockey World Cup in India, citing unspecified reasons. They've never been the greatest fans of each other. This is like Ukraine pulling out of Russia's, you know what I mean? Australia clinches the 2025 Speedway of Nations title with dramatic victory over Poland. Good for Australia. I mean, I don't know what the Poles really have, in all honesty. I can't think of the last thing. I know that they can drink like the Russians, which is like good for them. That's awesome. That's a great culture to have. Peter Mutharika sworn in for a second term as Mali's president after another electoral win. Congrats to him. I hope things go great. German auto industry is in crisis. Over 51,000 jobs lost in the past year amid rapid decline. German cars, I'm just going to say it, folks, they might feel great when you hit a curb because the wheel design is really nice. I don't like the complexity. It is incredibly hard to fix. Audis are the worst to own in the sense where, like, German cars always suck to fix. They're never going to be affordable. You're always going to have to go to a specialist. It's just a mess. So if this results in the German auto industry having to streamline, maybe what's it called? Maybe I'm trying to think. What's the best way to deal with this? Oh, yeah, go the Buick model or something like that. I don't know. Reduce your parts. Reduce the size. You know what? Outsource all the jobs to France. Let's see what cars they give us. Taqiyya records a 19th EU sanctions package against Russia. New U.S. ambassador arrives. Good for them. I'm hoping that they can keep the Russians at bay. Woman doctor found dead in Maharashtra. Hotel leaves note accusing police of rape and harassment. Never ideal, but I think that is one that people should have their eyes on. Maharashtra Hotel. I know I didn't read that, what's it called, the most, like, a lot of these foreign things you have to spell, otherwise people are not going to be able to research it for themselves. Jelly Roll opens up in a TMZ interview about one of his worst moments, having an affair on his wife, claims he loved her, but his actions really blew him back. Okay. I actually really want to play this because I don't like Jelly Roll even a little bit. I don't like him even a little bit because listen, when he testified in front of the Senate and was like, I know drug addicts, I'm like, I know you do because you look like one, but he tried to do this kind of like emotional plea about how, certain things are going to save people, whatever. I didn't really listen because his tattoos are distracting. The idea that I'm looking at a photo of his wife right now. The idea that he could cheat on that, in the sense where she is incredibly out of his league. She is remarkably beautiful. She is like, you know what I mean? She has like that kind of fake Hollywood face, but it's like, it's a pretty face. It's one that's socially known to be pretty. She is just like a 10 compared to this guy. And if anybody of you know what Jelly Roll looks like, he looks like a big hunk of shit. He looks like just a big scoop of shit in, like, you got one of those ice cream scoops and then you plopped it and then you put a dumb little cross tattoo on its cheek and put a backwards hat on it. That's exactly, he is a gross person. He's a former junkie. He's not, by the way, acts like a current junkie. He's like, he made that one really bad song with Snoop Dogg, where he's like, I'm not even going to talk about his music. I'm not the biggest fan of it. But cheating on your wife, really not the move in my personal point of view. This guy, forget it. We're done. I'm done commenting on him. Kim Kardashian reveals, and this is our final headline, folks. This is our final headline before we hop into the final story of the day. Kim Kardashian reveals the diagnosis of a brain aneurysm discovered during a routine MRI. And if you're just like me, the only part of that story that you really cared about was routine MRI. The fact that she can get those on the routine, and some people are lucky to get those once in their life if they're like having headaches for years and they can't figure it out and shit like that. That good for Kim that she can have a routine MRI. It sucks that they discovered it. But here's an interesting factoid that I don't think a lot of people like to know, is that at least half of the population, and this is approximate according to scientists and whatnot, it could vary, at least half of us have a brain aneurysm or will develop one in our lives. Not all of them are going to blow, but at least half of us, around 49 to 50% of us, will develop a brain aneurysm. You just won't know it, and it might not be the thing that kills you. But you know, some people live with these things for years, and sometimes they don't blow, sometimes they don't pop. It's kind of like a stroke thing where it's like you live in a perpetual state of like, okay, let's keep an eye on you. Just let's make sure that things don't go haywire. You know what I mean? So sad. I really am sorry for that. Sincerest. What's her kid's name? Northwest? I think so. Prayers for her, prayers for your mom, and this girl is going out and she's claiming that, oh yeah, Kanye, he really stressed me out during our divorce and that's his fault now. Don't even try. He makes better music than you could ever hope to make. Even his most recent album, we're all bumping it. Don't lie. If you're lying right now and you're saying you're not listening to HH, don't lie. If you're not if you're telling me that you're not listening to Cousins, I know you're lying. Everybody knows that it's the songs of the summer. It's really good. Enough of the lies. Folks, welcome to our third story. I wanted to make the third story something grander. I wanted it to be something bigger, something more like a social commentary more than usual. I'm sure you're all aware of the New York City and Minneapolis mayoral race. As a matter of fact, they're occurring at the same time, same day, November 4th. I'm here to warn you of a danger in this election. Not only in this election, but you're going to see it popping up here more and more. A lot of people like to warn you of the Christian nationalism type, and absolutely, this is a one. The Christian nationalist is someone who believes that the America was made for a Christian peoples. It was made for people who believe in that faith, and anyone who doesn't fit within that vision is rejecting the norms of that society. And when you hear from Christian nationals, it's generally like, eventually we'll get you all to be believers. It's never, I've never heard the doctrine praise people who hurt other people. You know what I mean? That's one line I've never seen Christianity cross. I want to go ahead and I want to revisit, by the way, just on a little side tangent, let's revisit the biggest, most explosive moments from the final New York City mayoral debate. This is courtesy of the New York Post. Let's go ahead and let's look at this first clip, which is Mamdani getting skewered over a housing bill that he hasn't looked at.
That those measures will be on the ballot and that New Yorkers will be able to cast their votes for them. I know that we desperately need to build more housing in this city, and I also know that the jobs we create in the building of that housing should be good jobs as well.
What?
So what is your opinion, Zoran? Come on. Yes or what is your opinion? Yes or no, Zoran?
And by the way, this whole time, if you guys, I recommend that you watch these debates. It's actually really informative and really good to watch them. He just smiles the entire time. The entire time, no matter how much critiques, no matter whatever, he just smiles at you. He'll smile at your face. And it's deeply, it's deeply unsettling. It's unnerving. No one smiles this much. I'm sorry to say it. It's very, it's false. It's a farce. You can kind of feel it. Anyways, I would like to just finish this up. And then he pivots, he immediately goes to, oh yeah, these people are just vying for the Republican vote.
Answer the question for once. My question to you was, do you support the 3 ballot amendment questions?
I have not yet taken a position on those ballot amendment questions.
Oh, what a shocker. All right. What a shocker. Don't worry, once he takes it, he'll change it anyway.
There you go. That's wonderful. After that, Cuomo, by the way, guys. Cuomo has not been looking nice on that stage. He looks like he's melting. I've always said that I'm in favor of men taking care of their skin just as much as men. Like, if we're gonna tell women that they need to pin their skin back, they need to look all nice and youthful and tight for us, I'm just in favor of men living up to those beauty standards. Thank you, Bradley Cooper! Bradley Cooper, by the way, if anybody hasn't seen it, he ruined his face recently. You know how Bradley Cooper had this he had this gruff, kind of like a masculine guy, but yeah, he has he was never what's it called, overly polished, you know what I mean? He was a real man's man. You look at him now, he's a plastic. His facelift didn't go that great. He had a blephnoplasty or whatever they call it, where they just pull it up way too hard. Look at the clip of him on the red carpet recently, and it is disastrous. It's really sad to see, but I'm actually in favor of this. I think that if we are going to be telling women that you gotta preserve yourself, let's put this in men's heads just as much. I think that that's perfectly fine. Anyways, Cuomo got lit up. They called out how the fact that he resigned because of the sexual misconduct allegations.
Doubled. When I left, the vacancy rate on housing was 4.5%. It's now 1%. This man never even proposed a bill on housing or education. Never even proposed a bill. Keep going back and forth between the two of you. Mr. Sleewer, it's your turn.
Andrew, you didn't leave. You fled from being impeached by the Democrats in the state legislature. You fled.
King shit. All right, and then this, by the way, okay, Mamdani, you got to give him credit for one thing. He's really good. He's good at the Hillary Clinton. When I say the Hillary Clinton, many people will remember the debate that she had with Donald Trump, where she pointed to the audience and said some of the women. It was like a game show. This bitch goes, "Some of the women who have accused you are in the crowd tonight. Let's get a welcome." And it's like, oh my God, that never worked because you're dealing with someone who doesn't have shame. Just like Donald Trump, Andrew Cuomo doesn't have any shame. He's going to, and what his main issue is he's never found a good response for this. He's never found a good way to like wipe away the concerns or anything like that. So he's just going to say, oh, it was all dismissed in court. This was Mamdani's maybe strongest moment in the debate. Otherwise, this guy just got shellacked. This dude just got shellacked by these folks.
In 2021, 13 different women who worked in your administration credibly accused you of sexual harassment. Since then, you have spent more than $20 million in taxpayer funds to defend yourself, all while describing these allegations as entirely political. You have even gone so far as to legally go after these women. One of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is here in the audience this evening. You sought to access her private gynecological records. She cannot speak up for herself because you lodged a defamation case against her. I, however, can speak. What do you say to the 13 women that you sexually harassed?
I will say this, though. NDAs are pretty common for this kind of shit. The idea that, oh, she's being silenced or whatever. No, it's pretty common, especially during legal proceedings regarding accusations of sexual misconduct and these sorts of things, that you sign NDAs to where you and the other person that you're accusing are not allowed to talk about it to some extent outside of these interviews and such. So, and also the accessing private gynecological records was likely for the probing of evidence in order to prove that anything massive or contusionary happened to this woman's genitals. That's exactly kind of the angle that his lawyers went on the defense for, at least back when all this shit was getting hashed out. But he is going to not, he's not going to detail any of that. He's just going to go, look, you gotta be a serious goy. You gotta be a serious goy when you're running for mayor of New York. That's exactly what he says.
If you want to be in government, then you have to be serious and mature. There were allegations of sexual harassment. They were then went to 5 district attorneys, fully litigated for 4 years. The cases were dropped, right? You know that as a fact. So everything you just stated, you just said was a misstatement, which we're accustomed to.
Everything that I stated was a misstatement?
Yes, because the cases were dropped.
The cases were dropped. That's his best defense, is that the cases were dropped. All right, that's awesome. Next, we got another call-out moment from Mamdani.
From the Republican candidate for mayor, and then we heard from Donald Trump's puppet himself, Andrew Cuomo. You could turn on TV any day of the week, and you will hear Donald Trump share that his pick for mayor is Andrew Cuomo. And he wants Andrew Cuomo to be the mayor, not because it will be good for New Yorkers, but because it will be good for him. I didn't want to have...
All right. Bam. Good slam on his part. Okay. Then there was another moment from Curtis Sliwa, and I'm going to let him be the final word in for this, because I'll link this and whatnot. You can get the clips that you need to know. But he went ahead and he called out Mamdani for his limited career, this guy actually not being relevant in government at any point before he ran for this position in office. Whatever, he, failed rapper, you know what I mean, before all this, never held any meaningful position in government beforehand, and he called him out for that.
To do this, but you understand how this works. You can't talk over each other. Nothing works if you do that. I believe we've heard your response. I wanted to give you a quick word, and then we're going to move on.
Heard the both of them again fighting like kids in the schoolyard. Joran, your resume could fit on a cocktail napkin, and Andrew, your failures could fill a public school library in New York City.
Well, there you go, folks. Curtis Sliwa. I want to go ahead and I want to talk about something very interesting. This is going to be a minor for your consideration segment, just to tail it off at the end here for your folks. What is Taqiyya? Why should it concern you, and what does it really mean? For those who are not aware, Taqiyya is one of Islam's acceptable forms of deception. It involves lying to protect oneself or to protect one's Muslim community. Historically speaking, the practice has been used more often by the Shia Muslims, more so than the Sunnis, because they tended to be the minority in the Sunnis' lands. So in order to protect themselves from being slaughtered by said Sunnis, Shias often had to deny belonging to the Shia group. The same, by the way, Shia, Muslim, is the same group that Zohra Mamdani claims to belong to. Omar Fateh is of Minneapolis, is likely Sunni due to being Somali, but he's never publicly confirmed that. This has led many Sunnis to conclude that the Shias have totally invented Taqiyya, despite the fact that it is mentioned in the Quran. In chapter 16, verse 106, Allah says that His wrath abides on any Muslim who decides to reject Islam, unless the Muslim is forced to reject Islam while internally remaining a true believer. The verse reads, "Whoso disbelieveth in Allah after his belief saveth him, is forced thereout, and whose heart is still content with faith, but whoso findeth ease in disbelief, on them is wrath from Allah. Theirs will be an awful doom." This verse was apparently revealed to Muhammad's companion Umar bin Yasir after after he had cursed Muhammad and praised pagan gods while he was being tortured. But since Umar only cursed Muhammad because he was being tortured, he was forgiven. So if you're a Muslim who proclaims you're renouncing your faith, similar to Dracula in the Bram Stoker's Dracula movie. Have you guys all seen that? It's the Francis Ford Coppola one where he goes, "I renounce God" at the beginning. You're going to be cursed to a fate of damnation in hell. But if you reject Islam, or you reject its teachings or its doctrines or anything, but don't mean it, you're okay. Some Muslims insist that this is all that there is to Taqiyya. But the practice also involves being nice to non-Muslims, even though you hate them. In chapter 3, verse 28, we read, "Let not the believers take the disbelievers for their friends, in preference to believers. Whoso doeth that hath no connection with Allah, unless it be that ye but guard yourself against them, taking as it were security." Don't take unbelievers as friends, unless it's to guard yourself against them. Notice that this verse has nothing to do with pretending that you're not Muslim. It's about pretending to be friendly when you don't really want to be friendly. Let's read the most respected commentary in Muslim history on this verse. Tafsir of Bin Kathir on chapter 3, verse 28 of the Quran. Allah prohibited his believing servants from becoming supporters of the disbelievers, or to take them as comrades with whom they develop friendships, rather than the believers. Allah warned against such behavior when he said, "And whoever does that will never be helped by Allah in any way," meaning whoever commits this act that Allah has prohibited, then Allah will discard him. Allah will discard any Muslim who has a Christian, a Jewish, or of any other faith friend. But we've already seen there's an exception to this. Quote, "Unless you indeed fear from them, meaning accept those believers in some areas or times fear for their safety from the disbelievers. In this case, such believers are allowed to show friendship to the disbelievers outwardly, but never inwardly." For instance, al-Bakir reported that Abdu ad-Darda said, "We smile in the face of people, although our hearts curse them." Al-Bakir said that Al-Hassan said that Taqiyya is allowed until the day of resurrection. Muhammad's companions understood that this is what Taqiyya meant. Why would Muslims need to pretend to be friendly? Because, oddly enough, the Quran actually directly commands that Muslims fight those who do not believe in Allah. Chapter 9, verse 29, "Fight those of the non-believers who are near to you and let them find in you hardness." Chapter 9, verse 123, "Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and those who are with him are severe against disbelievers and merciful among themselves." Chapter 48, verse 29, "Muslims are commanded to violently subjugate non-Muslims." So what are the truest practitioners of this faith to do? Come out forthright and say, "Hey, allow us to be the levers of power to your country or to your city or to your state. We will eventually merge the state and the church. We'll have the call to prayer every morning, and eventually we will overwhelm you." No. We're not going to fight you yet, but once we have the numbers, we are going to bring Allah to your nation. Of course not. Countries wouldn't let them in. So Allah commands them to be friendly, giving rise to the Islamic proverb, if you cannot cut your enemy's hand, kiss it. Now, folks, I know I'm going to get some heat for just telling you what the Quran commands people to do. When I tell you the facts here, I'm not telling you that this is what your Muslim friends believe. Don't think that just because of this rule, your Islamic friends, when they tell you that Islam is a religion of peace, they're lying. It's not as though they know they are. Unfortunately, you'll realize this if you spend any time with people that are of the Muslim faith in America. They're completely westernized compared to Islamic-run nations. The average Muslim living in the West knows next to nothing about what the Quran actually says, and like modern Christians, they don't know anything about the Bible. They've been raised with most of its values, and that you and I have been, where it's just to treat people nice and then go to your book if you want to feel good. So when you hear someone, saying that Islam is a religion of peace, they probably believe it. But unfortunately, Islam is not defined by peaceful westernized Muslims or the people who say that is what defines them. Islam is defined by Allah and Muhammad. And they command, fight the unbelievers unless you can't fight them. And if you can't fight them, deceive them so that they're completely caught off guard when it comes time to fight. This is in the Quran. And it's in the most respected commentary on the Quran, which includes Bakir, Islam's most respected collector of ahadith, and two of Muhammad's own companions. So anyone who tells you that Islam does not promote this kind of deception either has no clue what they're talking about or is practicing Taqiyya. Folks, when people of the Shia community are claiming that he is doing it himself, when people that support Zoran Mamdani are telling you that this is exactly what he's practicing, I don't know what else to say there. I'm just saying that this is something to keep an eye out there for just as much as the Christian nationalists. Look, I don't want to live under a rule where I have to pray over my meals. Fuck that shit. Jesus didn't cook me the food. Why would I have to pray to him? I'm sorry. Jesus didn't give me my daily bread. I got it. I went out to the store and I did it. But Allah also does not condemn. He does not ask me to pray every day. In the sense where, folks, I just want to get this across. I have no faith to any faith. I have faith to secularism, and I don't believe that any sort of dramatic overreach. I don't believe in the idea of people bringing their Christian values into government. I don't believe the idea of people bringing their Islamic values into government. I don't believe in that. It's not for me, and I hope that it is not for you too. Because hopefully the people here believe in a solid split between church and state. But you know what I mean? Who knows? Given how New York might be voting here pretty soon, this could be another Kamala situation where all of the hype is online for him and he actually ends up losing in a landslide. But we'll see. Folks, we'll see. But in the meantime, keep an eye out for Taqiyya just as much as you keep an eye out for Christian nationalism, because they're both threats to you practicing your secularism. Just a nice little mention on the side there. But folks, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time. Happy Friday. This has been a wonderful episode. I promise that we will be back next week. Monday is our next upload. Subscribe, like, all of that good stuff if you enjoyed it. I'm so glad that you were here as long as you did. This is officially our longest episode yet for some odd reason. I need to shorten these scripts down, damn. But in the meantime, folks, have a great rest of your day. I hope that you enjoy yourselves. I'll talk to you later, and I'll catch you Monday. Bye-bye.